Hey, welcome to another edition of Talk Time, where this week we are having a look at the unmistakable Kawasaki ZH2. There is absolutely no mistaking what this is. The very distinctive styling of this super naked. This is a 15,000-pound Kawasaki ZH2. And at this moment in time, it is the most powerful super naked with 197 horsepower, thanks to this particular little puppy down here. This bike is punching directly at the V4 Tuono factory, the KTM 1290 Super Duke R, which we've already reviewed, the BMW S1000R, the SP10, and soon to be coming BMW M1000R. Coming around the front of this particular bike, we are looking at a conventional 43mm upside down Showa front forks. These are fully adjustable, but there is no active suspension on this bike. It's running a 17-inch cast wheel at the front, 17-inch cast wheel at the back, and we have the newest Brembo 4-pot monoblock calipers. These are radially mounted, as you would see in a sports bike, to the shock. We've got a 320mm front disc with cornering ABS, and this bike is running the specially designed for this bike Diablo Rosso 3s. Coming up over the front of the bike with these very distinctive LED headlights, we can see we've got virtually no weather protection at all on this slightly odd screen, which turns with the handlebars. Coming up to a high-mounted 19-litre fuel tank. All of this quality of the paintwork is beautiful. It's a very thick luster and lacquer. It's sitting on top of a trellis frame, painted trellis frame, in which the engine is a stressed member. It's an inline 16-valve 4-cylinder engine, which, thanks to this little piece of unique Kawasaki engineering, is putting out 197 horsepower and 101 foot-pounds of torque, which is incredible for a super naked. All of this motorcycle technology is good for a claimed 175 miles an hour. Bike has quite a long wheelbase and a perfect 50-50 weight distribution between the front and the rear. Obviously, on this particular ZH2, we have a double-sided swing arm, whereas the other supercharged Kawasaki's have a single-sided swing arm. So we have a 190/55/17 on a 17-inch cast rear wheel, and these Diablo Rosso 3s are specially designed by Pirelli for this bike because of the weight and because of the power output. So this is an especially stiff carcass on this tyre. Usually Brembo's at the front, but we've got a Nissin 2-pot caliper at the rear, and that is gripping a 260mm disc. So this bike is all about very big numbers. We're 239 kilos with a tank of fuel. We are 197 horsepower and 101 foot-pounds of torque. It's a phenomenal piece of engineering. Back end is held in check by a conventional Showa rear shock. We have an 830mm seat height, so it's accessible. And here we have, unusually nowadays, we have a key and we have a key. So it's LED lights all around this bike. Thanks to the fly-by-wire throttle, we have all the toys. We have cruise control, we have traction control, we have a 6-axis IMU to handle the cornering ABS and the power delivery, and we have rider modes. I'm in a bit of a quandary about this particular bike. I didn't particularly love the 1290 Super Duke R. I do love Kawasaki's, so I suppose the only way is to find out. Things first is a noise. I'm probably gonna have to shout for this entire test. Can you hear that? Indeed. How can you not hear that? The noise. Goodness me. So, second things, I do have a sneaky suspicion The Pete's trying to kill me. It's the second week of October. It's wet. It's cold. All that crap is building up on the roads that builds up on the roads in Scotland in October. And I've been sent out on a supercharged ZH2 with just about 200 horsepower, and the bike's telling me the K-trick is switched off, which is not good because I don't know what K-trick is, but if it's switched off I may well need it. Anyway, sorry about the shouting, but it's going to be like that all the way through, so we'll maybe try and keep this brief, or as brief as you can, on something like this. Jesus God, the noise! It's all about the noise! So it's a heavy thing, but you're never gonna know. It's just got so much power. Oh, maybe even, dare I say it, too much power. Suspension is hard. It's almost a little bit punishing. I say almost, it is punishing. No active suspension at all on this bike. Conventional shockeys, which doesn't necessarily count against it. However, I'm finding it hard going. Kind of bangs itself off of the bump, bangs itself off of the bumps in the road rather than soaks them up. I'm finding it kind of skips and jumps along the top of them. There is absolutely no wind protection at all, just nothing. So you've got ballistic speed, which is linear and smooth and creamy. You've got a lovely, lovely quick shifter, which encourages you to play with the box. I can hardly feel my lips, it's so cold today. I don't think I've got heated grips. How the hell can you not have heated grips? Everything's got heated grips. Either that or I just can't find the button for it. It's safe to say that this week, Nick is not in his happy place. Not in his happy place at all. The thing I can't seem to get my head around with this bike, in fact it's not my head, it's my body, is it's got a long wheelbase. And I can't really feel what the front's doing. I want to feel what the front's doing. When you tip it into a corner, it's happy enough to head in the direction that you want to go, but it definitely feels like it doesn't want to turn. Longer corners, open corners, no problem at all. But in the smaller, tighter stuff, it's just not very flickable, and that doesn't give me a feeling of confidence at all. Not quite sure what this bike's all about. Maybe it's really supposed to be for a lovely summer's day somewhere out on an A/Big B road of your choice. But it's definitely not a happy place to be today. Yes, it looks sunny, but the roads are horrible. Absolutely horrible. The brakes are good, phenomenal in fact. The lever's very responsive, and there's a lot of stopping power. Just can't quite decide what it is about the handling that I don't like. Almost feels like it's got too wide a back tyre on it, as if you came down one size. You wouldn't be so much riding the back tyre as feeling some sort of integrity between the front and the back. I do get a sense I'm in the minority. People love this bike. Everything I've read about it says that I should love it too. I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe I'm just not a super naked kind of guy. So, out in the smaller, twistier stuff, I need to be a little bit careful because there's tractors running around the place and the roads are definitely not dry, just in sections. I'm going to try and find out what I don't like it is about the turn-in. It just kind of doesn't feel like it wants to go where I want it to go. I remember riding an R1 once, which had a similar characteristic. It's almost like you want to get deeper into the turn and then turn it tighter on the back tyre and then come back on the gas, rather than, I don't know, it's just not easy. It doesn't have that light flickable side to side quality. It feels a bit big and long and heavy, even though it's incredibly fast. I imagine if you turbocharged a hippopotamus, it would feel a bit like this. Heavy, kind of ponderous and cumbersome, but at the same time, phenomenally quick. Everywhere I go on this bike, I just feel like a public menace. I can almost sense people shaking their heads at me. And the sound that's echoing off the walls. Wow. So, fast. Yes, indeed. The damn thing is bullet train fast. And with the noise it's making, makes you feel like it's going even faster still. It definitely handles, but it handles in a big, open, sweeping road kind of way. It likes an open corner. Brakes are excellent. Lots of feel, lots of bites, lots of feedback. I'm definitely going to have a headache by the time I get home. I do know the person who this bike belonged to, and I can't say anything bad because they are a bit mental. However, I now know why they're riding around on an S1000R with a full titanium race system and don't seem to feel it's all that loud. So it's undeniably effective, and if you can find a little bit of tarmac, there we go, this is better, a little bit of tarmac that's actually dry, so you can start to lay down some of that power with a bit more confidence, then it does come alive, and I can feel, to some extent what this bike is all about and why people get so excited about it. So this bike does have layers. I wouldn't say it's a transparent experience you can just jump on and find your way into it or get the best out of it. Far from it. There's actually, okay, a lot more to it than that. This particular one, you can only hear the faint traces of the supercharger underneath chirping away. It's also not the kind of road conditions that lend itself to a 200 horsepower super naked. So bear all of that in mind when you're considering the weighing up of this. I think if I had a criticism, it would be that I found it difficult to find the flow with this bike. It's a little bit of a blunt instrument. It's definitely brutal and incredibly effective. And to some extent, if you like your thrills as raw as this, it's probably right up your street. But like the 1290, there's a sense it's a little bit too much about it. And also, I'm not finding its subtlety. I'm looking for subtlety, but I just don't think that's something this particular bike is capable of. ZH2. I got on this bike this morning. I absolutely hated it. I don't mind admitting that. Everything felt a little bit heavy, a little bit remote, a little bit kind of out of reach. It didn't want to turn in. It just kind of didn't do what I wanted it to do. And the weather conditions were not in its favor at all. I imagine revisiting this thing on a hot sunny day with distance to travel would be an amazing experience. So it grew on me, absolutely it did. It's difficult not to. It's kind of like a medieval torture device. Think cudgel, mallet. It's brutal and it's effective. And I think at some point, maybe next year, I need to revisit this when things are warm and dry and accessible. If you like that, then like it. And of course, subscribe and come back again next week to see what I've been given next.